Welcome to Showbiz Chicago, the podcast. I am your host, Michael Roberts, and I am here with the cast of the best show in Chicago right now. It is called The Lake Effect at Silk Road Theater. And my God, cast members, I am still talking about it, sending people. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And in order, I have Adam, Manita, and Mark. And I just want to go around and introduce yourselves to the audience and then discuss your character.
I'm Adam Poss. I play Vijay, who is Priya's older brother, who's come home to his father's restaurant where he meets Bernard, played by Mark, who is my dad's new best friend.
Nice. And I saw you in Teddy Ferrara.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great chest, by the way. Great chest. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, boxer shorts and everything.
Thanks.
I'm Manita Gandhi, and I am playing Priya, who is Vijay's sister, who is already acquainted with Bernard, and as the play unfolds, you discover how. Priya is from Miami, and
As all the Gandhis are.
as all the Gandhis are, I mean, that's where we go.
Right?
And has had a really interesting relationship with her father and hasn't seen her brother in quite some time. And I think Priya is, Priya finds a lot of comfort in the material things in the world. That's the way she's sort of established security for herself.
I know, I relate to her that way. I
I'm Mark Smith. I play Bernard, who is I think a lovable guy, but kind of confused. But then he's also like the family that this family doesn't have. And he meets Vijay and Priya, and really just begins to understand himself, but then this family that he's been uniquely engrafted into. So it becomes a world of intrigue, and Bernard gets to see it unfold.
So what was the rehearsal process like for this show? Because, like all of Mr. Joseph's plays, it's so not what you think it's going to be about.
Yeah.
So when you got the script and you started devouring it, like what were the insights that you gave to your character, and what were some of the hard points to come across?
Well, actually, it's funny because the first version that we got was a different ending. So we got here day one, and it was a brand new ending.
And you had the playwright here with you.
Yes.
Which is kind of amazing,
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. But I think he, being a joint commission with Crossroads Theater and with Silk Road, with two different missions, Crossroads having an African American themed mission and Silk Road having an Asian American themed mission, he was trying to find a way to kind of bring those two together without having, the Asians be the villains or, the African Americans be the villains, and kind of making them equal. And I think the first draft that we had, Priya and Vijay were really unlikable.
Yes.
Particularly Priya was, and then he made some changes at the end that just made so much more sense to the story. It made it much richer, more nuanced.
Did you know they were unlikable when you read it, or was it something more when you started the process of rehearsing?
It was the first version that we read. It was kind of like,
Yes.
ooh, man, these guys are, they're vicious.
Yeah, I think it was hard to, you can always find the humanity in any character, but, from a text perspective, from an audience perspective, I think the first draft of the play, when I read it, I thought, wow, yeah, these people are in a lot, for anyone to be this angry all the time, these people are in a lot of pain, which I think that pain still exists in the draft that we're doing, but I think he shifted the ending quite a bit and really developed the relationship between the brother and sister and fleshed out, what had happened to them when they were younger, and I think it added much more depth and mystery and love. Yeah, there's so much more love.
I think, the rehearsal process for Bernard's character was unique because his words were so delicious and everything, from like the monologues that Bernard has. He almost has he breaks out in monologues that could be songs. I'm like,
yes, that's very true.
Yes.
But what it made for me, it made it so very. The cadence was so unique because it made me understand that this guy was endearing. At the same time, he had to have some issues in his life, but you never knew. So all you could play was what he was.
Right.
The backstory, whatever the backstory was, it didn't matter because he was still in this present time where he was, and so that made it really unique for me.
Because here's kind of the hook, because I'm not going to give anything away, but you think it's about fathers, like, your father and all that, but it's really about mothers.
Yeah.
And, how losing a mother can affect people for a lifetime when they're young.
I loved how the script made me want to meet Vinny. It made me want to see Vinny on stage because he was such an amazing part of the story, you know. But of course, you never see this guy, but the way he wrote it, you were interested in this person you never
You knew all about him.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting.
Well, it's kind of like Bengal Tiger in that respect, is that like all the characters, you become invested, but you don't know why, because they're not really all that relatable. But in the end, it's like, oh, well, that character is about me, and that character is about me.
Absolutely.
You know, so when he puts pen to paper, I would love just to see his mind work and how it like the puzzle comes together.
Yeah.
So, what is the truth about each of your characters? You know, because you're a Wall Street tycoon and in the show, and
I think that's something we talked about too. Is you know, being the golden child and never really being recognized for that. You know, and you know, the fact that, you know, he strives and he strives and he strives, and, you know, he sends his sister money, and, you know, he has achieved this level of success that his dad never really, or at least he never perceives that his dad actually appreciates it or encourages it. You know, and I think that having lost a mother, you say that, like, this is the person that would have encouraged me, and so I'm doing this for them, and then the fact that the parent that is there can't do that for you, it breeds resentment and hurt and anger and a viciousness that I think comes from a lack of a nurturing family environment.
have any of you lost a mother at an early age?
Oh, God, no.
No? Okay, I did.
Really?
So, yeah, right around the age. So I get it.
Yeah.
And you put a lot of expectations on your father at that point.
Yeah.
So that's how I was relating to it. And really, if you talk to like anybody that lost a mother at that age, you know, it's a paradigm shift, because, you know, the maternal nature that you were living with all that time is gone. So as you go to adulthood, you don't know if you're doing right or wrong, because usually the father's always working, and, you know, and I think that was your character, you know, more than anything.
I feel like, yeah, for Priya, you know,
I was pointing to me at the time. I'm sorry. Forgot I'm not on camera this time.
for Priya, you know, I think losing a mother at the age of 8, which is how old Priya is when it happens, she's now in the house and living, you know, in this restaurant with these two men, her older brother, and I feel like there's a perfect age difference between Priya and Vijay, where I'm sure I probably didn't get to hang out with you and your friends as much, because that's, you know, I wasn't cool enough to, and I'm sure that Dad probably, the way Vinny is represented in the play, couldn't offer the certain kinds of maternal things that every child needs. And so I think Priya learned that love was, oh, Vijay's sending her money, Dad's going to give me something material, and I think that probably really affected the way Priya lives and looks for love in the world. I think that I have found that Priya's just in a lot of pain, and Priya wants love and wants to be respected and wishes she could be the golden child like Vijay, wishes people looked at her in that way, but she's had to fight for respect in ways that maybe aren't as respectable.
Right. No, absolutely. And it's about being accepted in the end, right?
Absolutely.
You know? And there again, that's where Vinny plays a central role, even though he's not there. Because you could tell, like, his life fell apart, too, after the accident.
Yep.
You know? So, and boy, you the way that you have to, because nobody really knows what happens to you until the end of the play.
Right.
So, I mean, you're right. Like, all your words are so mannered, I guess.
They are, and it's what was unique about playing. What's unique about playing Bernard is you can't give it away, and it's a task. You know, you have to hang in there until it's time, and then when it is time, you still can't shout it. It has to be very subtle, because this Bernard's character is a guy who is, I think he's very lovable, but he has so many things missing. I mean, of all the things he connects with Vinny about, he never mentions his own dad, never. But he sure enough remembers his mom. He remembers him. So there's something about his life that was missing, that manly figure, that this Vinny guy all of a sudden becomes this patriarch that Bernard never had. And it kind of balances. I kind of feel like Bernard sees his mom and Vinny as his parents. Mm. And he has no choice but to do that, which is unique, because at the same time, you know, you can't overplay that, but you have to be very subtle with it. And it's hard. It was harder because their characters were so strong, and so Bernard has to almost like sink into it. But I don't know. It was so delicious to play it, and every night it's almost different. but we've definitely found this groove that's kind of like, man, there it is. You know, it's like we're sliding on this thing, and I love it.
So what have you learned from each other going through this process?
Adam remembers scripts first.
No, it's been, I mean, when you work with such a small cast, like it's such an intimate rehearsal process, and Tim Douglas is our director, who is also an actor.
Yes.
I mean, working with
One
him,
of the best.
Brilliant.
Oh, he's amazing.
Hi, Tim.
One of the best. I'm not joking.
and we were
No,
saying
yes.
this too. It was like a master class,
Yes.
in that we had the opportunity to try crazy things. We had the opportunity, to fail, and
Well, and you need that. You need that trust.
yeah,
You know?
and with with the cast is small, some if you're in a bigger cast, sometimes you're limited in terms of the amount of time you have to make choices and to make bold choices. And I think we were all encouraged to do that, and I think I learned so much from.
Like what? What have you learned from each other?
Um,
Because actors learn from each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, just even the length of the second scene between Priya and I, it's such a long scene, and just like in being able to ride and to really connect and to know that the words are the same, but it can be different. Just such subtle changes, and to find our groove together has been just awesome, and it's created this like brother sister thing.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah.
I feel like this process and working with both Mark and Adam and Tim and Rajiv is just, it's been a big lesson in true trust, like the best kind of trust that can exist within an artistic process, because we were given the opportunity to make really big, great choices, really big, awful choices. I mean, there were, so many like tears. Tim's really big on breathing, and all of us, I think, really had to learn to just check in with ourselves, really be with each other, breathe, and really give to each other. So it's been a great exercise in trust, because it does honestly feel like a different show for us each night, and there's just so much liberty in that trust that we know that each of us can handle moments, and we can give something new. This is the process where I have been least in my head. Once we opened, it was just go, especially after opening weekend, and I think I attribute that to both of you, because you're on stage and you're giving so much, and you're open, and you're there. So it's been a big lesson in trust.
I've learned what it means to wait on these beautiful actors, because there are moments that you can be in a scene with them, and their energy is right there, and I have to. When I say wait, I mean once they give it, I'm actually the recipient of something great, and I can take that energy and then like just give it back. So there's like an exchange going on. Like our first scene is so unique because we have to establish this momentum. I mean, if we fail at that first scene, the whole play is kind of like, well,
That's very true.
And it was pressure at first, but then to me, Adam is such a strong actor in that first scene.
And great comic timing.
And
Mine is
great.
spot on.
You guys have no idea how much his facials make me want to lose it. I'm like, oh, don't look at him. Don't look at him right now. And then when Manita comes in at the second scene, to me, that when the money gets pushed all over and her face is, I'm looking at her energy like, wow. And she's so vulnerable, and it makes me sink into that moment looking at her face. So I've learned to share those moments with them. And it's really been great. I look forward to what I'm doing next, because I'm going to say, the Lake Effect really gave me this, these moments. I love it.
And what's the audience reaction been? Because you get to like meet them after shows sometimes.
Yeah.
And
it's so interesting. We were talking about this last night with Jamil, who's just director, and we were talking about some nights it's really big laughs, and they go into it thinking like, oh, this is a comedy, and then sometimes the audience, the play is billed as a drama, so people go in there and they're like looking to cry, and sometimes at the end of the show, it will have been silent, and we're like, oh man, they're totally not into it, and then lights up, and there's 15 people weeping, and it's like, okay, so it's just it's a different energy depending on the night, so.
I've heard every time we go out, I've heard people say it was great, they loved it, they really appreciate the concept of what this play represents in so many ways. And as an actor, it's good to hear someone, they're entertained, but when they're touched, it's like, wow, okay, we've done some work here. So, yeah.
And I think a credit to Rajiv that I think I've heard from a lot of people is that they say, I want to know what happens to these three
Yes.
people.
Yes,
Like
you guys can do a TV show,
I'm
right?
telling you. Say it
Hey
again.
Rajiv, write a TV show.
Totally available.
My sister, the next day when she came, she texted me. It's probably 6 in the morning.
Now, is that your sister, the great singer?
No.
Oh, a different sister.
My real sister. Great singer. She's not my sister.
Oh, your girlfriend. I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry.
My biological sister texted the next morning and she says, "Who's gonna take care of Bernard?" So she says she was thinking the whole night. She was like, what happened to the restaurant? She was thinking about it, and I'm like, man, that is the stuff that makes me feel good. That we have, we've done our work.
Yeah.
That people are actually thinking about these characters as if they want to find out again.
Now, see, we can spin Bernard off to a sitcom.
Yeah.
I know.
Where does Bernard
with that
end
one
up?
music, with Sanford and Son music. But Bernard comes in. I love. Rajiv to me wrote a script that blows me away. When I read it, I was literally going. That was amazing. Just
Full of surprise. I feel like it's so
surprise.
full of surprises and twists and turns. That it's a gift as actors to work on it
Yes.
because it lets us do so much and it lets us play with such nuance, and it's a gift to the audience because what people have been telling me is, oh my gosh, I just didn't know what was going to be next. Anything is possible, and that's really exciting. Some people have contacted me a week after they've seen the show, expressing things that they have felt about.
Well, yeah, it
their
stays
family,
with
the
you. I mean,
moments.
not to overthink it, but you do overthink it because you're like, well, you better go back and see it again because you missed this, this, and this. And so, yeah. Same with Bengal Tiger. You know, it just, an amazing playwright.
Yeah.
He's
And the way he
brilliant.
writes too, it's all of this is the third play of his that I've done, and there aren't neat endings. Nothing's tied up in a pretty little bow. It's
Well, they're real.
Yeah,
Those are real
absolutely,
people,
yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And the story can continue. I mean, and we've discussed it. Like, this could be the last time that the three of us are in the same room. At the end of the play, or it could be that from now on the three of us get together and we run the restaurant. Like, there's just so many possibilities, and
Wow.
he leaves such open possibilities to his work.
So what else have you done with him?
I did the world premiere of the North Pole, which is in Palo Alto, and then I did Animals Out of Paper at Wolf Garage
Oh.
a couple years ago.
And what is your connection with him? Was it just auditioning or because he seems to love you now?
Totally random. We did a workshop of the North Pole at the North Light, I think like 5 years ago, and then when he was he worked with Theater Works in Palo Alto, and they were doing a 2-week workshop of the play, and he was like, I work with this kid is the guy, so they were nice enough to bring me out there, and then luckily I got to do, it's rare that you start doing a reading that turns into
Yes.
a workshop, that you actually get to do the world premiere. So that was a show that was in my head for like 2 years, and we got a long time to work on it, so it was when I heard and I was doing Scorched here, when I found out that they had commissioned him to do the lake effect, I was like, I wanted him. I wanted him in that show.
So were you rehearsing Teddy Ferrara and this at the same time, or was there?
No, we closed Teddy Ferrara, and then we started this about 2 weeks later.
Wow.
So.
Well, that was a quick rehearsal process then, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had, 3 weeks?
Yeah, we were talking about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was quick, but I mean, it's a credit to, I think, Silk Road and Tim and choosing some good actors. I mean, I'm decent, but I love
You're more than
working
decent.
with strong actors. Thank you. I mean, with 3 people, you can't hide. You're bringing it or you don't. And our rehearsal schedule, I remember the first day we read it, and I was sitting there like, damn, these guys are really good. I'm like, all right, Mark, get it together, buddy. Bring it in. So, it was a short process, but we were pretty comfortable with it.
Our rehearsal, we had, it's a different rehearsal schedule. We had 4-hour days as opposed to a 6 or 8 hour day. But we all would leave rehearsal and we would always comment on it. Absolutely, physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted.
Yeah, sure.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that's a big credit to both of you and to Tim and the way Tim worked, and and also after our first reading, we did our table read the next day. Rajiv came in, had these new scenes ready to go. That man can write and write fast.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know that whole creative process. I was just saying, my friend wrote Big Fish, and he would go and write like 3 songs. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, exactly.
And orchestrate it.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, people, it's not human.
I think Tim Douglas is like the Phil Jackson. He's like a Zen master. I don't know.
Yes.
He has this, at the risk of sounding weird, this magical presence. He's like, do this, and you go, I've never done that before. Do it. You do it, and you go, wow. It was. It's amazing to me, and everything I'm doing, even after this and what I'm doing now, I literally am remembering those words. I'm like, wow, and it really, really works. So.
Well, he's an actor's director because he's an actor,
He's
so he knows the
absolutely.
process.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And there are few of those around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's really transformative to work with.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell me about acting, how you all got into it.
Sure.
I've been dramatic all my life. That's my family. I've been dramatic all my life. As I started as a kid, and this is I in the last maybe 5 years I've really broken into this thing. I'm kind of new on the scene, but I love it. I've done Dreamgirls. I was Jimmy Early.
Where?
Theater 47, community theater.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done. I was Harpo in The Color Purple. And so. Jimmy Early is the best.
Oh my God, I love Dreamgirls.
Play.
I just saw it again at Marriott.
Really? How was that?
It was great.
Oh yeah. So I've done that, and then I did Couture Hall's Hoodoo Love, and some stuff at Steppenwolf. So I'm kind of new at this, but my feet are getting wet pretty quickly. It's up to my ankles now, so I just
You're kind of awesome at this.
I want to swim. Like, get me in the ocean.
So what was the hook? Like, what made you say, "Hey, I can do this"?
It was natural. It was just very natural for me, and it became something that that was fulfilling. And I have people that got mouths to feed, so I want to help them eat, which is interesting. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
I was born in India and raised here, so I'm first generation Indian American. I grew up loving stories, writing, reading, doing a lot of traditional, I guess, Indian cultural folk dance. I never thought. I loved stories, but I never thought this could be a choice for a career option. I thought I would be an English major or an engineer and I was going to a community college. I was in my early 20s, and I had time to take my first theater elective before transferring, and something just clicked. And it was the first time I felt passionate and self-disciplined about something. Wow. So I went home and I told my parents. And
how did that go over?
They both, their faces went blank. My mom said something in Gujarati, which was basically like, what did I do in my life to give birth to this child? And my dad, very earnestly said, no, you're Indian. And he said, you love Shakespeare, you love words, but who's going to cast you? And so we had a long discussion and process about it, and I think they saw me work really hard and really have a sense of commitment to this. And then my dad, who's like my hero, he says we have these movie moments together, and he was like, no parent is happy unless their child is happy. So, wow. I got into this conservatory, I went to PCPA, and he's like, but we have to make a 5-year plan. So we made a 5-year plan, and we talked about it, and that was kind of the beginning of this wonderful, awesome, often unstable creative journey. And I did an internship at Milwaukee Rep after my conservatory.
Oh my God.
Do you love Milwaukee Rep?
I love Milwaukee Rep.
I love them too. Their
new director, is just insane.
I haven't had the pleasure of working with him yet.
Mark Clemens?
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Their internship program, you're there for a whole season, and I recommend it to so many people. I think if you do it and you throw yourself into it, it almost serves like a mini grad program. Wow. You work with some really amazing people. And from there I did a Chicago showcase and actually came to work on a show at Silk Road, which is how I kind of got my footing in Chicago. I never thought Chicago would be my theater base, and Chicago is where I've made most of my professional living as an actor. And this past season has been a big gift because it's been the first season that I haven't, been all over regionally, but I've gotten to do a pretty full season in Chicago here and at Victory Gardens, and I don't know. I mean,
that's awesome.
I guess that's how I did it.
Here you are.
Here I am.
And we have the old stalwart here. Well, I've been doing it, so.
No, it's funny. My mom was in second grade. Speaking of parents, my mom, when I was in second grade, we moved to a new town, and I was painfully shy. It was Oswego, which is tiny little town.
Poor thing.
Yeah. So she put me in acting classes because she was like, "Go get out there. You'll make some friends, and you'll get out of your shell a little bit." But I never thought of it as a career, and even, and I kept doing these acting classes, but I didn't do the school plays, and then we were seeing one in high school, and I was like, they did Little Shop of Horrors, and I was like, oh, they're so good, and I'm not going to audition, I don't want to be an actor. My mom was like, go, do it, and like kind of forced me to do it. And then in going to college, I was like, well, I guess I'll be an English major. And my mom said, no, you want to be an actor. You've always talked about the theater school.
Oh my God, I've never heard a mother push it.
I know.
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, because I think she realized, like, this is what makes you happy, and this is, parents can see what makes their children happy. And so my mother has been the one who constantly has been like, no, do this, go do this. And so now she says, she'll be my business manager one day. Yeah.
Your own agent.
Yeah.
And they're cheaper that way,
exactly,
too. They won't take as much money.
Yeah, and I still call her every time I have, an audition or I have a question, or I'm constantly like, what should I do? What should my career path be? And she's constantly like my guiding light.
She's been spot on, huh?
Yeah.
Half hour, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, we got your call. I'm going on tonight, by the way.
He'll be Bernard.
Right? Okay. Just let's do a microphone in my ear and just feed me the lines.
I'd really like to see you do Brienne.
Right. I could do that too. Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.